Hey, welcome back to another solar video on the channel. My name is Ivan, and on this one, we're talking cheap versus expensive solar leads. Which is better, right? But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, please make sure you subscribe and like this video if you really like the content of this video. If you don't, just don't like it, you know? No harm, no foul, right? And if you have an opinion about it, make sure you give me feedback, down below in the comments. Before we get right into it, also please make sure to check out the Solar Sales Black Book. It's the first link in the description box below. And so let's get right into the video. So again, on this video, we're talking cheap versus expensive solar leads. Now, a lot of people that are new to the space, they don't really know what to expect. But if you've been in the solar space for a while now, you've probably tried some leads in the past. You've bought expensive leads, you've bought cheap leads, and you're probably wondering, okay, so none of them seem to work, so what's really going on? There's a lot that really goes into it, and I want to explain everything to you in this video, so be sure to stay until the end. So, not everything, I want to start this video off by saying that not all cheap leads means no quality, and not every time, on the other hand, not every time, expensive leads means quality and higher quality, usually, right? There really is a lot that goes into it. And so the first thing I want to point out is that, let's start with the cheap leads first, okay? For a cheap lead, we assume a lead that is acquired anywhere between, again, depending on the state, but even in high competitive areas or high competitive states, for anywhere up to about $7, $8, $9, $10 at most. So what a cheap lead means is that most of the time it has been acquired through an offer that has been put online that has attracted the potential customer's attention, right? Not the fact that it can go solar for $0 down or anything to do with with solar, right? At the forefront is always the offer. And just so you understand what an offer might be, is we might be offering, let's say, a free appliance, or we might be offering, a free generator, whatever it might be, okay? There has been an offer that got their attention and had them, fill out the form or leave their details with you so you can contact at a later point. So basically the cheap lead can be someone who left their details to be contacted at a later stage just to get the prize, or can be someone who's genuinely interested in solar. You don't know at that point. The fact of the matter is that anyone who's a homeowner and has a 650 or above credit score is potentially somebody that can go solar, right? So that's why sometimes, going that route, especially if you have a call center or at least one or two people to call these leads and you're not all alone by yourself, that might be a route you want to go in because of the very cheap cost per acquisition. I'm going to get into that in a second. But let's look into the more expensive leads. Well, as you can imagine, the more expensive lead is not offering pretty much anything. It's just talking about solar and hey, go solar for $0 down and this, that, and the other. Now, the pro is that you're gonna get an audience, everyone who's pretty much goes in, and leaves their details with you, is probably going to be either very bored, because you get people like that, or they're going to be genuinely interested to hear about solar. But at the same time, you're going to get less people to talk to, right? So here's the thing. If you combine the two, like, okay, which is better, right? I would say that there's no right or wrong. It's really situational. And what I mean by that is you can have a very cheap lead that is doing really well for you in terms of a cost per acquisition, and you can have expensive leads that is not doing so well. Actually, you end up making just as much as you end up spending just as much as you make on the back end, which makes no sense whatsoever to run a campaign like this. So when you get a cheap lead, there's two things that might be happening. It's either that lead is being resold to multiple companies at a time in your area, or if you're working with a marketing agency like us, for example, that means you're probably offering something at the forefront that gets people's attention and makes them want to leave their details. But it's still solar. I mean, they're still attracted by the concept of how they can potentially, go solar if they get, and get this as a bonus, right? And on the expensive lead side is, you might be working with a company that doesn't know what they're doing, and that's why the leads are so expensive. And on the other hand, you might be getting an exclusive lead that costs you an arm and leg, and it's still not that qualified, right? So at the bottom, what it really matters is that it makes sense financially for you to keep a campaign like that going for you. Or having a campaign running that makes obviously sense for you to keep running it, and you see yourself scaling your business with that sort of campaign. So everything goes into the cost per acquisition. What do I mean by that? So if you're making, let's say $2,000 on the back end once you sell a deal, and it takes you $2,100 or $2,000 or even $1,800 to close a deal, and your cost per acquisition of a sale is $1,800 or $2,000 or $2,100, right? It doesn't make sense financially to continue doing this because you have costs in between. You have to pay the marketing guy, you have to, you're paying your salespeople, you've got commission to pay out, stuff like that. And it just doesn't make financial sense for you to continue doing something like this. And what you should be looking for is a decent cost per acquisition, meaning you know exactly how much money you need to put in to get a sale. That way, you know how much you're making every time you close a deal. You know what your expenses are, and you know obviously what it what it costs you to acquire a deal, and that's how you print money. That's how you scale your business. So again, to sum it all up, there's no right or wrong when it comes to buying or acquiring cheap versus expensive solar leads, as long as you have a good enough cost per acquisition of a sale, right? Because not every time the expensive leads is going to give you, credit qualified homeowners who are interested in going solar, and not every time the cheap lead source or the cheap leads would mean that these people are unqualified. There's no way to do business with them. So again, it's just weighing in your options. So again, I hope you find value in this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Again, don't forget to download the Solar Sales Black Book. It's the first link in the description box below. Leave a comment. Let me know how you like this video, and let me know what videos you want me to put out there in the future. Stay safe, and I'll see you again on the next one.